operation. The other method is to perform the pagination operation. Next, we have some methods in JPA repository. Let's have a JPA repository methods. So mostly when we are creating any application, we are going to extend which repository only? JPA repository, because it provides CRUD operations, paging and sorting operations, and also some JPA specific operations. Nothing but it performs batch operations. So I can explain you here what are the methods of this, and also it provides batch operations. Instead of writing some JPA specific operations, I'll say, and also batch operations. And also it performs what operations? Batch operations. So there is a method available called save and flush. Okay, you know already save, but now there is a method available called save and flush. See, all the methods are inherited from CRUD repository into JPA repository. Paging and sorting repository, this interface methods also inherited into JPA repository. So JPA repository contains methods coming from CRUD repository. Also the methods coming from paging and sorting repository. Plus also it contains additional methods. It also contains what? Additional methods. What are the additional methods? Save and flush. Okay. And we also have a method save all. I'll add that method here better as a second method. Save all. Okay, save all is also method available in JPA repository. We will see that. Save and flush method saves the entity and flushes the changes instantly. What does it mean? Actually, what happens when you are working with the JPA? All the operations are, all the database changes are made within a transaction. That a transaction will be internally created. Explicitly, you are not going to start the transaction and you are not going to commit the transaction. Transaction is automatically started. Within the transaction, all the changes are made to the database. Whether when you are saving object, when you are when you are deleting an object, or when you are updating an object, all these operations are done within transaction. Normally what happens? Transaction started here. Consider transaction start. We will discuss more on transactions later, but right now I am telling you. So here transaction started. Okay, start transaction, start. What is started here? Transaction started. Now, this is the transaction commit statement. Transaction commit. Transaction starts here. Transaction will commit here. Whenever inside this, multiple operations can be executed within a transaction. Whenever the transaction is committed, then all these changes will be reflected in the database. For example, you are saving object 1, object 2, object 3 within one transaction. How many objects are saving within one transaction? 3 objects you want to save in the database, but these 3 objects you want to save within one transaction. Within one transaction, you want to save how many objects in the database? 3 objects you want to save. Okay. How many objects you want to save? 3 objects. First you are going to save the object 1. But immediately this object 1 is not reflected in database. Now you are saving object 2. Immediately it is not reflected in database. You are saving object 3, not immediately reflected in database. But when these are reflected there? Whenever transaction is committed. So JPA will execute by default like this. Suppose when you call the save method, when you call which method? Save. When you call the save method, what will happen now? Save first object, save second object, save third object. Means what happens? The JPA will execute the save of object 1, object 2, object 3 within one transaction. But when you save the first object, is it immediately reflected in the database now? No. Object 2 not reflected. Object 3 not reflected. But once the transaction committed by JPA, then what? All these changes are reflected there. This is what by default JPA will do. This is what by default JPA will do. But if I call save and flush, what's the difference between calling save and flush? See, for instance, I'm writing repo dot, feel that repo is one repository object, okay? Repo dot save of E1, employee 1, repo dot save of E2, employee 2, repo dot save of E3. What happens now when I say repo dot save of E1? It is not reflected in database. It will be first stored in cache. Where it's going to be saved? In cache. Okay, this JPA will maintain one cache, which is called level 1 cache. What cache we call it as? Level 1. It maintains some cache memory. So where this object is saved first? Into the cache, but not in database. Save of E2. Where is going to be stored? In cache. Save of E3. In cache. After all these are completed, okay, now the transaction is committed. JPA will commit, then there is no next save operation. It is going to commit the transaction. Now what happens? All these three objects are now at a time reflected in database. Means what? From cache they are transferred to database. Nothing but they are going to be synced with database. So I think you are catching with the explanation what I am trying to tell you, right? Am I clear with that? Okay. This is save. Now understand the point clearly. First tell me where all these are going to be placed. In a cache. Where is E1 saved first? In cache. Where is E2 saved in? Cache. Next E3 will be saved in cache. Lastly, what happens now? All these objects are now transferred from cache to database. This is what going to happen by default. So this is clear. But my requirement is, I do not want, whenever I say save, immediately the change should be affected in database also. Then I should not call save. I should call save and flush. What's the method name? Save and flush. Save and flush means what? First, JPA will first put this object into cache. Immediately will flush it into database. Flush means it will change or reflect the changes into database. That's why the method name given as what? Save and flush. So there is a difference between save and flush. Save method is there. Save and flush method is there. Save method will first put the object in cache until transaction is committed. Whenever the transaction is committed, this object will be sent to database. The changes get reflected in database when the transaction is committed. But save and flush means immediately reflects the changes to the database. That's called save and flush method. Okay. Come to the point. There is a method available called save all. Let's open the JPA repository. Look at this. There is a method available called, in JPA repository, there is a method available called save all. JPA repository. from Spring Data JPA. This is the interface JPA repository. That's good. Back to the point. There are plenty of methods. Of course, many of the methods came from CRUD repository. But now we have a method called that's save all and flush. Not save all, save all and flush. What this method will do? Save all and flush. This is save and flush. For the next method, save all and flush. What it will do? Saves all entities and flushes changes instantly. What should be given as parameter? Iterable object is given as parameter. What object? Any iterable object can be given as parameter. Who are iterable objects? Who are the iterable objects? List is a iterable object. Next, set is also iterable object. Queue is also iterable object. But map is not an iterable object. Means what I cannot provide as parameter? Map. But I can provide what? List or set or queue. I can pass any of the three objects. So what's the method name? Save all and flush. What this will do? It will save all entities and flushes the changes instantly, immediately to the database. That's called the method name save all and flush. Let me add this. What's the method name? Save all and flush. What should be the parameter? Iterable object. Like this, you have to know the methods. Iterable object. These are just methods only. Any number of methods we can learn. We can remember also. If you know the method, suppose you have a doubt on what parameter I should provide, what type of object I should pass as input, means you can open the documentation, you can find the method, you can see what type of arguments it is having, and you can provide the actual values like that. So documentation help we can take. That's not a problem. And moreover, we are working with not Notepad. We are writing the code on IDE. And in IDE, you are automatically getting the suggestions, right? Whenever you keep a dot, automatically you are getting all the list of the methods. That's why you can learn any number of methods. Okay, if you forget the methods also, no problem. To forget the methods also, no problem, right? Because you are working with IDE, you are forgetting the methods, but IDE won't forget, na? Obviously, whenever you type a dot, automatically what are you getting? Methods. And you can recollect the method immediately now. Good. Unless if you are not writing in Notepad, it's okay. In Notepad, if you put dot 2 times, 3 times also, it won't give anything. We have to remember everything. But we don't write applications in Notepad. That's why we can learn any number of methods. Okay? Right. So what this method will do? It will save all entities and flushes the changes instantly. Saves all entities and flushes the changes instantly. Instantly, I mean immediately. This is how you have to learn. Next, there is a method called delete all in batch. Now, that's what I told. JPA repository will provide what operations? Batch operations. So there is a method available called delete all in batch. Actually, tell me, JPA repository inherits what repository? JPA repository inherits which repository? Yes, CRUD repository. JPA repository inherits which repository? CRUD repository. Tell me, in CRUD repository, we have a method called delete all. In this, we have a method called what? Delete all. Delete all. Now, in JPA repository, what is the additional new method given? Delete all in batch. Delete all in batch. Now you have to learn. How delete all in batch works. What happens when delete all method is called? First, all the entities are loaded into memory. Which memory? Cache memory. Suppose I want delete all the employees. Example, 1 lakh records are there. How many? 1 lakh. 1 lakh records means what? 1 lakh objects, na? 1 lakh records meaning 1 lakh objects. What delete all method will do? when delete all method is called, what JPA will do? First loads all the entities into memory. Online people try to get this point. Am I clear with that? Loads all the entities into memory. After loading them into memory, we can also write some callback methods in entity. Means before removing what to do, after removing what to do. There are annotations called pre-remove and post-remove. What and what? Pre-remove and post-remove. Loads all entities into memory. Next. Executes pre-remove and post-remove operations. Operations are callbacks, better word. Executes pre-remove and post-remove callbacks. Then deletes on each entity. Then deletes one by one. Are you able to follow me? When delete all method is called, what is happening? First loads all entities into memory. Memory means cache. Then starts executing pre-remove and post-remove callbacks, if anything defined. On each entity starts executing. After executing the callbacks, deletes one by one. If there are 1 lakh entities, then 1 lakh entities are loaded from DB into memory, starts executing what? Callback operations on one by one, then deleting one by one. It'll take a lot of time, right? That's why JPA repository has provided one more method. What is it? Delete all in batch. Simple thing is, it does not load anything into memory. It does not load anything into memory. It doesn't execute any callbacks. It doesn't delete one by one. It one shot, one hit, deletes all the records by executing delete from table. What's the command in SQL? Delete from table without loading into memory, without executing callbacks, not deleting one by one. All the records are deleted in one shot by executing delete query directly on DB only. So what this method will do? Will directly delete all the entities in the database itself without loading into memory. Now you tell me, which one can give better performance? Delete all in batch. Suppose there are no callbacks you are defining. You don't want to execute any pre-remove or post-remove on entities. Okay, right? You want to just delete them. They are all temporary records. For example, there are some temporary employee records are there in table. They are temporary employee records. At a month end, you want to delete all the temporary records. At a month end, you want to delete all the temporary records without executing any pre-remove or post-remove kind of callbacks. Then tell me which is best operation. Delete all in batch. So hope online people, I think you are understanding me. Are you getting the difference now? Delete all and delete all in batch. This is called what operation? Batch operation. This method is available in which repository? JPA repository. So JPA repository provides what operations? Batch operations. Yes, batch operations. Okay, right? Delete all in batch. Likewise, we have one more method also. Delete, I'll show you. Delete all in batch, ID in batch. Delete all by ID in batch of interval. This is also one more batch operation. One more batch operation. What's the method name? Delete all by ID in batch. Parameter is what object? Iterable object. Right, iterable object. This is a method we are talking about. Tell me what this method will do. It will remove all the entities directly in database by executing delete query based on IDs. Based on what? IDs. You pass a list of IDs. Only that list contains what? Primary key values. Now this method will delete all those records without loading them from database into memory, directly within database only, by executing delete query with the in clause. With which clause? In. Do you know when you are writing SQL query, delete from EMP, where EMP no in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Do you know query? One in query is there, in clause is there. So that type of in clause will be used by this method for executing the delete operation. Are you getting my point now? So what's the method now? Delete all by ID in batch. What this method will do? Deletes all entities by IDs in a batch. Deletes all entities by the IDs in a batch. This is a method. Hope I'm clear for you. Right? Hope I'm clear for you. Right? Now, let's move on. Okay, let's move on. What's the next method name? What's the next method name that you are learning? Get reference by ID. Look at this. This is basically called lazy load operation. What operation? Lazy. There is a method called find by ID. What's the method name? Find by ID. There is a method available called find by ID. What this method returns? This method will return a specific entity. It retrieves or returns a specific entity from database. You provide the ID, you will get the object. Returns how many objects? One object based on ID, the primary key. But when I call this method, it will immediately load the object from database. Immediately loads the object from database. For example, employee E equal to repo dot find by ID of 7171. What is 7171? Employee ID. What this method returns me? Employee. It immediately returns employee. Are you getting my point? Returns what? Immediately employee. It will execute select query internally, will select the employee with the number 7171, return that employee. You got my point? Immediately. This is called eager loading, early loading otherwise. What loading? Eager loading, otherwise early loading. Okay. Let me write next statement. See the difference between both of them. Repo dot get reference by ID of 7171. In this statement, this method does not load this entity with ID 7171 immediately from the database. What it will do? Without going to database, it will first create some proxy object. What object? Proxy. Without going to database, it creates one proxy object and returns that proxy object. Okay, simple. This method is creating one proxy object of type employee. Employee proxy. You know the word proxy, what does it mean? Proxy is a very common word from Corona. I'm not okay, right? Proxy job. Okay, right? Proxy employee. Instead of work done by the actual employee, he is giving salary to some other employee, and that guy is doing his work. That guy is called what? Proxy. Okay, proxy. Some people took proxy support to crack the interview. Am I right or not? What does it mean now? That all was happened. Okay, right? The people who never got the job but got the job in Corona. Right? So how it was made possible? So Corona helped in two ways. Corona has done two things, bad and good. Multiple good things are there. At the same time, bad things are there. Bad things are nothing but what? Losing the lives of the people. That is pretty bad. Okay. Bad or good because this body is just like how we are wearing the dress. This is not we. Okay, we are not this, right? This is just only the body. This is only what? Skin, flesh and skin, bones, like that. Okay. Soul different. This is different. Okay. Soul does not have any death. Okay. So to understand this in more detail, you read Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So that's the secondary thing. So that is not our class, and I am not a preach to explain all these things. Leave over that. But coming to my point, two things it done, good and bad. Bad thing is okay. Good thing is what? Hospitals got too much revenue, crores and crores and crores of rupees. They don't know where to keep that money. Okay, their almaras are full. Hospitals got so much money. Employees, they did 2-3 jobs. Okay, right? Employees. And the people who are jobless, okay, they got the job. They tried for 2-3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but still they did not get any success. But then, at the time of Corona, they got the job. Okay, right? Fourth, at least we got some pure air because of no traffic. Right? Okay, greenery got improved. Okay, right? People started washing hands. Okay, before that, what? It's difficult to wash hand, directly eat only. Washing hands later. Okay, but before eating, after eating, too much washing. Someday, at least we got some good air quality got improved at that time. Some good things, some bad things. Okay. Okay, come back to the point. Why we came into this point is because of proxy. So what this get reference by ID method will do? This method will return a proxy object. It doesn't return the original object. Returns what? Proxy object. Right, okay. Proxy is not original. Proxy acts like original. ATM is not the real bank, right? ATM is not a bank. But ATM is a proxy for a bank. ATM is what? Proxy for a bank. ATM is not the bank, right? But ATM is acting like a bank, right? In bank you can withdraw money, you can deposit money. Here also what you can do? You can withdraw money, you can deposit money. Means what? ATM is acting like a proxy. Proxy for bank. Proxy for a bank. Like that. So what this get reference by ID method will do? This method will create a proxy, will return that proxy object. In that proxy, this ID number 7171 available. Means it is not going to DB, it is not loading it immediately. That's why this is called lazy loading. What loading? Lazy loading. So then when it will go and get the object from DB? So suppose you are accessing E dot get sal. You are calling like that. Then tell salary is required, na? But in proxy, only ID number 7171 is there, but salary is not there, na? That's why it will go to DB, will fetch the record. Means what? When you do something, then only it will fetch the actual record. Otherwise, it won't. Meanwhile, you have only proxy with you, but you don't have the original object. This is called lazy loading. What loading? Lazy loading. Which method will perform lazy loading? Get reference by ID. What about find by ID? It doesn't matter whether you are using it or not using it in your code. You asked me, I am going to database, I am selecting the record, I am giving the object to you. Later, whether you use it or you don't use it, I am least bothered about that. That's what find by ID says. What find by ID says? You called me. Okay, I will go to database immediately. I will fetch the record with the number 7171. I will return that employee object to you. Now you want to use the data or don't want to use the data, that is your wish. That's it. I did my work. This is called what type of loading? Early loading. So which method is performing early loading? Find by ID is performing early loading, but get reference by ID method is performing lazy loading. It doesn't go to database. You called get reference by ID will say that no, I will not go to database. I will create one proxy object. In that I will put your number 7171. I'll give it to you. But whenever you use it, whenever you access the data from it, then I will go to database. Until that time, I will not go to database to select the record. This is called what type of loading? Lazy loading. Early loading, lazy loading. Which method is performing early loading? Find by ID. Which method is performing lazy loading? Get reference by ID. Very good. Understand this point. Okay, right? Yeah. These are all the concepts and everything that I learned from Hibernate. I'm very thorough in Hibernate. I'm well known in Hibernate for Hibernate. Okay. Come to the point. Okay, right. Come to the point now. I took many batches of this with a lot of strength in a Hibernate class. Okay. Now there is a method called flush. I told already. Initially, where if you do any changes like save or update or whatever, first where the JPA is going to do them in cache. Then later, when the transaction is committed, they are going to be reflected into database. But now, still, suppose we have a doubt, if anything is still pending in cache. Now you want to sync them with database. You want to sync them with what? Database. Then which method to call? Flush method. To call which method? Flush method. Example, you loaded one employee from database. One employee loaded from database. When you load the employee from database, it will be kept into cache also. It will be kept into cache also. If anything is coming from DB, it will first enter into cache. So now you're doing some changes to employee. Maybe his name you are changing, or salary you are changing, or department you are changing. First, where these all changes are recorded? In the cache. In the cache, but not in the database. Then how to flush the changes to database? By calling this method. Which method? Flush method. Okay, right? Immediately how to send these changes to database means by calling flush method. So what flush method will do now? Will immediately flush the changes or sync the changes with database. Okay, observe here. This is a DB. Now first you understand in the A, then we'll see physically here. This is DB. One employee selected from DB. Tell me where that employee will get saved. Yes, this is my application. This is my application. This is cache. Remember, whenever we select anything from DB, for sure it is going to be in cache. It is also in our application. It is also going to come to our application, but first it will be kept into cache. Employee number 7171. Employee name A. Salary $5,000. Am I clear with that? Okay. 7171 A $5,000. Try to understand my point now. Now, you are now changing salary to $7,500. The changes are also automatically happens in cash. But in the database, not updated. When it is going to be updated? When the transaction is committed. But now, how to flush the changes immediately to reflect in the database to 7,500 now? I should call which method here? Flush method. When I call flush method, what happens now? It will automatically sync all the changes from cash to the database. Now in the database also what the employee salary will become now? 7,500. Before committing the transaction only, we can call which method? Flush method. What is the purpose of flush method? If any pending changes are there in this cash, so these pending changes are reflected to the database. By calling which method we can do this? Flush method. Flush method. Okay, right? See. This is your application. You have the object here. One employee object. ID 7001. Name A. Salary 4,000. This is your application. If you call only save method, only save, I am talking about only save, then tell me first where this object will be kept? In cache. In cache. It will be kept into cache. But not in database. When it goes to database? When the transaction is committed. But my requirement is what? Before committing the transaction only, immediately I want to save it into database. I want to sync this object immediately into database. Then tell me, instead of calling save method, which method I told you to call? Save and flush. What save and flush method will do now? What save and flush method will do now? It will first save this into cache. Immediately it is going to flush into DB without waiting for commit of the transaction. Immediately the changes are get reflected into database also. Which method can do that? Save and flush method can do that. Save and flush method can do that. That's what I told. So flush meaning flush all pending changes to the database immediately. Immediately. From where? From cache. From where? From cache. From cache, if any pending changes are there, immediately sync them with database. For that, which method is available? Flush method. So this flushing is not there in CRUD repository. This flushing is not available in paging and sorting repository. But flushing is available in JPay repository. Means JPay repository contains some additional features, no? What additional features? Batch operations and flush operations. Batch operations and flush operations. Batch operations and flush operation. Now you tell me, mostly which is the best interface that we need to extend while creating our interface? JPay repository, because we are getting what features? CRUD operation features, paging sorting operation features, and batch operation features and flush operation features. That's why what is the most common way of creating a repository interface in Spring Data JPA programming in the Spring projects? Extends JPA repository. Extends which repository? JPA repository. Let's see how to create now. Now, example of creating a repository interface. Look at this. What's the point I'm saying? This is I am creating public interface employee repository extends JPA repository. But JPA repository is a generic interface. It has two type parameters. You know, if it is a generic interface, you should provide the actual values for the type parameters while you are implementing that interface or while you are extending that interface. Then tell me this interface has how many type parameters? 2. T comma ID. T comma ID. T for type. Type means your entity type. Suppose what is my entity class name? Employee. Comma. What's the next one? ID. Understand here. ID. ID means data type. ID means what? Data type of ID field. Entity class contains ID field. Na? According to our previous employee, what is the data type of the ID field? Integer. Employee number is integer, right? Which field is ID field? Employee number. What is the data type of the ID field? Integer. Primary key field is ID. What is the data type of that ID? Integer. So, employee comma integer. So, hope I'm clear for you guys. Hope I'm clear for you. Now you guys can able to see how this can be created. Now, just I'm going to start and close the interface. Later I'll tell you what to write inside. You are writing one, most of the times you are writing empty interface like this. That's it. You no need of writing any logics. You can perform now what operations? CRUD operations you can perform. You can save, you can delete, you can update, you can retrieve. You can get early loading, lazy loading, batch operations, paging sorting operations, flush operations, everything that you can do just by writing one empty interface like this. Am I right or not? Suppose these same operations you want to write with a normal JDBC API, okay, right? Or with a normal Hibernate framework, you have write very big code. But here what? In Spring, just one interface. Just one interface. That's it now. This is enough. It's enough now. You can perform what now? You can save the employee. You can update the employee. You can delete the employee. You can fetch the employees. You can perform batch operation deletion. You can save. You can flush. All. You can implement pagination. You can implement sorting. Just by creating empty interface like this. Who will write implementation class for this interface? I told yesterday, we are not writing that. Who will write? Spring. At runtime, Spring will write implementation class. You are writing interface here. In core Java, while learning core Java means Java SE, you are writing interface, but you would write implementation class also. Interface you would write next, implementation class also you would write. Both you would write. But here, interface you write, implementation is created by Spring at runtime. In that implementation class, all these operations are available. You will get around 30-40 methods in that implementation class. Are you able to get my point now? But who is writing that class with the 20-30 methods? Spring will write. You just write interface and work. So it's pretty easy for us. This much only we are learning. We are not writing any implementation class, right? Spring will do that. Now, yesterday we got how to write entity class. Today we got how to write interface, repository, interface. By extending which repository? JPA repository. Am I clear with that? Next. On top of this interface. Understand fastly, sir. Understand fastly. What I'm saying, sorry. On top of this interface, writing annotation called at repository is optional. What is optional? At repository annotation optional. Why? Because already this interface extends marker interface. What is the name of the marker? Repository. At repository is annotation. Interface name is repository. It's a marker interface. That marker interface will mark that what this is a repository. That's why no need of writing again @repository on top of the interface. This is optional. If you want, you can write. Otherwise, you can leave it. Hope I'm clear for you, all online people. Am I clear with the point? What so far I have explained to you, right? So, what are the different options available for us to create a repository interface? I can extend my interface from CRUD repository. Second option, paging and sorting repository. Next option, jQuery. I want only purely basic CRUD operations in this example. Then I can extend what? CRUD. Don't extend jQuery repository. Go and write here CRUD repository. Now you can get only basic CRUD operations, but you will not. Don't expect paging, sorting operations. You can't do that. Batch operations, you can't do that. Flush operations, you can't do that. Am I right or not? You want only paging, sorting operations. You don't want CRUD operations. You don't want batch operations. You don't want flush operations. Then go for what? Paging and sorting repository. But you want all. In application, you want all. All means what? You want to perform CRUD operations. You want pagination, sorting operations. You want batch operations. You want flush operations. Then extend what? So what is the most preferable way? Yes, extending what repository? jQuery repository. Now, did you guys got to know how to create a repository interface in a Spring Boot Data JPA application? Right. Just what you need to do, create one interface. Extends JPA repository. Blindly remember like that. Extends what repository? JPA repository. How many type parameters you should provide? 2. First one is what? Entity class. Second one is what? Type. Second one is ID. The ID means data type. Data type of ID field. ID field means primary key field. What's the data type of primary key field in our employee class? Integer. That's why I'm writing employee comma integer. So am I clear with the way how repository interface can be created in a Spring Boot Data JPA application? Right. Actually, without giving this much of aggressive explanation, simply I can also write, hey guys, this is the way of creating a repository interface in Spring Boot Data JPA, and I can continue. By this time 2-3 applications also we can finish. But you don't know what is flush. You don't know what is lazy loading. You don't know about early loading. You came for an interview, asked a question, tell me what is lazy loading and what is early loading. You have a question mark on your face. Right, okay. So that's why to answer them clearly, you first of all you should have a strong clarity. Okay. You know of learning this much subject. Learn this much only. But you should have a good clarity on what you have learned. Okay. So this clarity will automatically teach you this much subject, no doubt. Okay. So come to the point. Why we have discussed about this much time about just for creating a simple one interface like this. This can be completed in 1-2 minutes also. 1-2 minutes also we can complete this. Right? But why we have discussed this much time? The reason is you should know the difference. When should I extend CRUD repository? When should I extend paging and sorting? When should I extend JPA repository? What is lazy loading? What is early loading? What is the meaning of flush? What is batch operation? So to know about all these things, I have given my explanation for this much time. Now we are into some shape, at least some good shape about working with the Spring Boot Data JPA. 2 things I need to do. What are the 2 things I need to do? One, what are the 2 things that I need to do? One, entity classes I need to create. Second, I have to create an interface like this, which is called repository interface. 2 things I have to do. Next, I should add one starter. What is the starter? Spring Boot Starter Data JPA. That's it. Now we can happily work with the concept of Spring Data JPA in our Spring Boot applications. Am I clear with that? Next. before I start with the next example, I am going to explain you about, first let me write example. Just I'll be talking about, okay. So you got to know how it can be created, for example. Okay, right. What is employee? Entity class. What is this integer? Data type of the ID, primary key field. What field? So there are how many type parameters? Generic types, 2. 2 type parameters are required while extending JPA repository. First one is entity class. Type means entity class. Second one, ID. ID means data type. Data type of primary key field. ID field means primary key field. So what is that primary key field data type in our employee class? Integer. Employee number, integer. And don't use int, int. Int is a primitive type. You know, type parameter must not be primitive type. Type parameter value must be wrapper. Must be wrapper, not primitive. Means must be of object type. It must be a class, but not primitive data type. Don't write employee comma int, int. That is wrong. Because generic parameter does not allow primitive type. It must be object type. So that's why we are writing integer. Okay, nice. Next. Application development, we will start from tomorrow. So from tomorrow, we can start writing applications on Spring Boot, data, JPA. But before we start with application, one small thing that we are going to discuss, that is called Lombok API. What API that is called? Lombok API. We are going to have Lombok API. It is not Spring. It's a third-party API. This Lombok API provides annotations. Provides what? Annotations to avoid writing boilerplate code. What code? Boilerplate code in the Java classes. Boilerplate code in the Java classes. What is the boilerplate code? Writing the constructors, writing the setters and getters, toString method, equals and hash code method. These are all called, for example, you write employee class and customer class. In employee class, you are creating fields, employee number, name, salary. Then you are defining constructor. Then you are defining setters and getters. Then you are defining toString method. Customer class, customer ID, customer name, customer email. Again, next you are defining constructors, setters and getters, toString. Like that you are writing something. No? So in every Java class, what are the common things you are observing? Setters, getters, toString, constructors. These are common things, right? Now these are avoided. They are automatically getting generated at the runtime by this API. Which API? Lombok API. For that, what Lombok has provided? Annotations. What Lombok is saying now? You don't write constructors. You don't write setters and getters. You don't write toString method. Don't write equals and hash code. Everything I will provide. Just use me. Okay, right. It is giving some annotations. Use them. That's it. Okay. This I will be explaining to you in the tomorrow session first. The Lombok annotations. So once you got to know the annotations list of Lombok, then next we will start with coding. Means from tomorrow, when we are writing our Java classes in our Spring applications, we are not going to write any, we are not going to define any setters, getters, toString, constructors. These things we are not going to do. These things we are not going to do, right? What we are doing now, we are going to go with Lombok API. We have annotations, we will use them. That's it. We have annotations here. At the rate, no args constructor. At the rate, all args constructor. At the rate, getter. At the rate, setter. At the rate, toString. What else you want? Am I right or not? It will automatically generate setters, getter. You just write annotation, that's it. Those annotations are called Lombok annotations. Those Lombok annotations is called Lombok API. And this is not from Spring. It is not from Spring. We are not having any Spring Boot starter Lombok. Lombok is a third-party API. It is not from Spring framework. So for Lombok, we need to add one dependency. We need to add one dependency. And this starter, we don't have any starter called Spring Boot starter for Lombok. It's a Lombok API dependency, separate dependency that we need to add in the pom.xml. That's it. So these things will be discussed tomorrow first. And once after getting this, we'll start with coding part. So tomorrow we'll see the first Spring Boot data JP application and we'll perform some CRUD operations. We'll perform what operations tomorrow? CRUD operations. Thank you. Let's meet on tomorrow.
Ang ganda rin, alam mo yung mga kaibigan mo sila, alam mo yung